Are they going to disappear? Actually, someone went on Twitter and said, kidogo kidogo, you will see not for sale in Somalia and Tanzania. And I'm like, please, I think the authorities that are charged with this, adhere to that, because this is a matter of life and death. It's a matter of us getting back to normalcy. And there's an article here by Dr. Richard Ayer on page 5 that says, he's a board chairman, Center for Health Solutions Kenya. He says we should not get tired of COVID-19 protocols. And there's been a lot of questions in regard to the efficacy of the vaccine. And I think it's a high time, actually, this were addressed, because some of the questions that Kenyans have is, if I get this vaccine, will I be immune to the virus? Can I spread the virus if I get the vaccine? Does it mean I can go about drinking and socializing as I should, as I used to before, a year before the COVID-19 issue virus? So many questions are left unanswered, and we welcome you to weigh in on this conversation. The efficacy of the vaccine, would you be taking the jab or not, and why? What's the reason behind your response? As we work on that, let's take a short break. When we return, we'll still focus on matters of, national importance, ranging from politics as well as health, business and sports. Do keep it right here.
Fanya hivi, wewe teremuka tu chini. Hata watu wanangojea, unasema unione. Si ninakuona ndio huyu kucha. Kucha ninakuona.
Yoi.
Nimekuita mara ngapi Kate? This is the Nissan Note.
Hii ndio motoka.
Not that this is the Nissan Note we are giving out.
Na ni rahisi sana kuwekelea bid. Unaenda kwenye lipa na M-Pesa. Unaweka paybill number 4032353. Kisha unakelea account number ya Nissan Note ni Note, N-O-T-E. Namba ambayo unapenda, labda unapenda 100, labda unapenda 200. Wekelea Note 100, Note 200. Alafu tutakuitisha shilingi 40 peke yake, 40 bob only. Weka pin yako, utakuwa umekelea bid ya hii Nissan Note. Inakungoja wewe mahali popote ulipo. Mimi na mtumishi tutakupea.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Mimi naitwa mzee Sava. Nitalimadha lenyewe. Safishe roho yangu. Ponda mali at your own risk.
Wow.
Yaani kila siku kila nikikukanya wewe usikii, waleta ukibadilisha tu.
Mimi ni tajiri bwana.
Basi uniambia ujeo wewe.
Huyu nani baba huyu?
This is my house girl.
Hebu nishusha hadhi. Subiri kuteseka baba.
Wazungu wasema it's okay.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
I came to live in your house.
What? No. That's not what we agreed on.
Hey, I thought you were going to be happy now that I'm here.
No, I don't want to have any obligations.
If you mess with one of my siblings or with me, I swear to you I will.
What? You're gonna do what, huh?
I'm warning you.
Max! 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 Max!
On the next episode.
Juhudi za Rais Uhuru Kenyatta za kulinda na kuimarisha maslahi ya Wakenya kwa kuangazia uhalifu wa kila aina ikiwemo ufisadi ni muhimu katika maendeleo ya taifa hili. Wiki hii kwenye Project 254.
We cannot be a country anymore where those who work hard are robbed of their profit by those who are too lazy to invest and produce.
Ofisi ya ODPP imekuwa ni mojawapo ya zile taasisi Kenya ambazo zinashughulika na masuala ya kisheria
Rais ajue lolote afanyalo kupiga ufisadi kwa haki na ukweli, ana uungwaji wa mkono wa Kenya.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
And the drama begins.
What the hell did you put my stuff?
Ding dong.
I need a lawyer. You stupid monkey. I want my clothes back.
Oh, just shut up.
Sarah, where have you been?
In the sky, of course, sitting on the moon. Or what do you think?
Too bad you've got me, so make the best of it.
Shabu kishafua na supu ya nyama.
Hiyo ni yeke.
Kamene?
Cassandra.
Palanta guidance.
Omera, shut up.
That was my time, Farah Hersi.
Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, this is Good Morning Kenya. I am Jane Wamboy. We'd love to know where you're watching us from, so why don't you reach out using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter, and do remember to tag at KBC Channel 1, at Raymanyara, and at Jane Wamboy, so we can be able to get all your feed. This is in the headlines, where we get to have a look at what the papers have for us this morning. And so far, the conversation revolving around the COVID-19 vaccines that arrived in the country sometime to midnight last night is what is taking center stage, at least on all the dailies, all the front pages this morning. And there is so much concern from the population when it comes to the willingness to get this vaccine. It is almost a 50-50 situation, and this is basing on a research that was done towards the closing of last year that did indicate that there is a lot of vaccine hesitancy, and there's also a bigger part of the population that are looking forward to getting this vaccine. But on the other hand, we have experts who are raising concerns over our behavior post this vaccine. Once the vaccine has been administered on the greater part of the population, which is expected to happen in 3 phases over the next 3 years, are we going to, disregard these health guidelines that we have been given by the Ministry of Health? We want to know. Earlier on, Regina had asked you to share with us your thoughts in regards to this vaccine. Will you willingly get this vaccine administered? If yes, why? And if no, do also let us know why. Ray?
Well, that question of will you or will you not?
$1 million question.
Indeed. Yesterday Parliament was saying that they want, President Uhuru Kenyatta and the cabinet prioritized in receiving the job.
And governors were complaining why they are not included.
Now, governors also want to be in the line, but they want the president to lead the pack, to set the pace, lead from the front. And I'd want to read some of the feedback that we have received. One coming through here. Let's check that out in regard to, they say for the vaccine, he goes by the name of Jay. He says, for the vaccine, why not those members of parliament, cabinet secretaries, governors, and the rest lead by example? Be injected as a proof to the ordinary Kenyan that the vaccine is legit. So, Jen, there are questions about, we're used to fake stuff, and Kenyans have not hesitated or held back in regard to this issue at a time, when the globe is really fighting this pandemic. Millions across the globe have died in droves, and we have been lucky. And they say that though the number 1,800 plus is not something that you can just forget, but we have not seen, the issues of COVID-19 did not go as predicted for the African continent. And and I can say Kenya has been one of those states that have really tempered down on the spread of COVID-19. And looking at, the mortality rate as such, we can't say that we have dealt with it in great numbers as expected. So, and for that, we thank God. However, the issue of efficacy of the vaccine has come out. Now, this particular vaccine dose, that is their million doses, arrived yesterday, some few minutes shy of midnight. And to receive them there was the Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe. There are accompanied by other government officials. What you're seeing on your screen is what was transpiring yesterday, some few minutes shy of midnight there. And we had our reporter Purity Museo on ground documenting this, a moment in history. This pandemic has not just caught Kenya off guard, it got the whole globe off guard. And now, as quoting what the Health Cabinet Secretary there, that is Mutahi Kagwe, had to say while he was addressing the press while receiving that particular consignment, he said that he's excited. And the country is excited at large because now we, and quote unquote, and I'm going to paraphrase this, that we have been fighting COVID-19 with rubber bullets, and now they're having received this consignment of vaccines, we have the proverbial machine guns to deal with this particular virus. At the same time, we have, a lot of skepticism, and this is not just coming from ordinary mwananchi, what we would refer to as Wanjiko. Also, some few health workers are saying that the lack of stakeholder involvement in all this, and the fact that the vaccine has been on trial basis, it's changing as it is. They are not so comfortable in receiving the jab because there's some questions that have been left unanswered. And one of them is, if I take this vaccine, does it mean I am immune to COVID-19 virus? As you ponder on that, let's have a listen in to what Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe had to say yesterday after receiving the consignment of the vaccines.
And therefore, it is going to be happening across the counties, across the entire country, amongst the health workers. So I just wanted to clarify that issue so that there are not too many questions and thinking that we are only concentrating on one area. So I want to thank you. Thank you all very, very much. Let's meet in Kitengela and we talk about other issues that you may want to raise. For now, I wish you all a very good night. Or is it a good morning? Asanteni. Good. Well done.
Indeed, we will be meeting in Kitengela, there, the main government's storage facility there, where we expect this consignment actually went there yesterday night or morning, give and take, depending on, a minute past midnight, indeed, is wee hours of the morning. So we'll be keeping tabs on that. And just to run it by you, some of the leaders who have publicly taken the COVID vaccine jabs include Pope Francis, as well as Saudi Arabia's King Salman. And Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo. Remember, Ghana received its first consignment of this particular vaccine, and the same one actually, 2 weeks back, and we're yet to get reports in regard to its efficacy because there's so many things into play, with one, people questioning the efficacy of the vaccine and why the drug distributor or drug manufacturer is distancing themselves world over from any adverse effects that this particular vaccine may have on a person once they get injected. Yesterday night, just a recap there from Ben Troy's report, is that there's some of guidelines that have been already given by the Ministry of Health, and one of them happens is that if you suffer any allergies, allergies to egg and chicken and such, you've been advised that before you take this particular jab, that you have a conversation, a sit down with a medical practitioner, a doctor, to just look at what would be possible side effects. Also, those who have been termed as overweight, obesity and such, been told that this might not quite be efficient, or rather the efficacy of the vaccine, then here would be compromised in regard to that. So there's so much that is coming up. Remember, this is a vaccine that, if you look at the duration that has been taken to come up with this vaccine, it has already been termed in the medical field as too short a time. Because how long did it take to get a vaccine for polio and so much? So many questions have been asked, and we know that this particular virus, from reports, is that it is mutating. So we'll be keeping tabs on that. You can get to read more about that particular issue and what the governors had to say in regard to, the administration of the vaccines and why they would want the executive to be at the front. But now it comes, the Ministry of Health has said that President Uhuru Kenyatta as well as the cabinet are not priority in the COVID jab, and those who fall in the priority happen to be over 500,000 healthcare workers, as are among those who are going to be eligible for the jab in the first phase. Remember, this is going to be gradual, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 2 and phase 3 may run concurrently if the government has enough coffers to buy this particular vaccine. So moving away from matters of the vaccine, let's talk about...
Allow me to just jump right there before we get to move on. There's this tweet that has come in on our feed. That is Shapiro, who's saying, a scandal just landed in Kenya. Guys, in the next 2 weeks, you will be buying this vaccine for 350 bob in the back streets.
Now, I don't know.
Skepticism.
Yes,
guys are expecting a scandal.
You can't blame us. You can't blame us for us. And if you're talking about us not being blamed, and I understand where that person is coming from.
Yeah.
If we look at what was happening during the KEMSA probe, yeah?
Speaking of which.
Yes, it was quite something.
It was.
It was a baffling revelation, actually, on the ongoing probe of the National Assembly Public Investment Committee, where a company that had discrepancies in its letterhead was awarded 180 million shillings tender on the same day it presented its letter for intent. And when she was questioned, well, let me not tell you what she said. Let me give you an opportunity to actually listen the respondents' answer to this committee. Here's a report by Kamche Menza.
Tuesday morning, Eunice Cherono, the sole proprietor of Leon Interior Deco and Design, told the National Assembly's Public Investments Committee that she just walked into Kenya Medical Supplies Agency's office and came out with a 42 million shillings tender to supply personal protective equipment, although her company deals in designs.
The situation I was so bad that I really relied on prayer. I prayed about it. And I can tell you without fear that actually it is God who directed me there.
But to the committee's amazement, she could not remember the name of the person who helped her secure the tender.
And yet she assisted you and you don't know the name of that person? It's not possible.
It is, madam. Nobody, I didn't pick any name there.
The committee also questioned how a commitment letter was issued before the intent letter.
In every single document that is there, there's total conspiracy that is there. Your letter of intent was dated 6th. These guys here should have told you, backdate your letter of intent. They must have forgotten, because they backdated their letter of commitment to you.
It was also the same case for Duke Agencies, which secured a 180 million shilling tender to supply PPEs on the same day its director, Elizabeth Katawei-Serei, wrote an intent letter.
Received by the
CEO, and the CEO has a signature.
Facilitated.
PD, this is a procurement department, facilitated on the same day. It seems that you walked in with the letter to the CEO.
I disagree with you.
Give me the facts now if you disagree.
Because I picked the commitment letter on 8th. I was called by KEMSA on 8th to pick the commitment letter. How the letter reached to CEO's office at that time?
Okay, Elizabeth, I've always said this is a committee that deals with nothing else except facts.
Yes.
Elizabeth, who co-owns the company with his 2 sons, who are still in school, could not plausibly explain the discrepancies in her company's letterheads.
Our machine breaks, and there was no place.
Okay.
At that time, there is no place we can do. During that time, you all know there are no people in town. Okay? This one, yes, we did on a different printer because the other printer, which had letterhead, has broke. And we didn't have any person
Chairman, I think just an intervention, Chairman. I think you should also be protecting us from some of the very vague
I agree
and
with you.
irritating reasons.
I agree with you.
She's not supposed to be taking us for kids, telling us, Chairman, during that time that there were no people in town. Then how was she transacting business?
The probe also revealed that Leon Interior Deco and Design and Duke agencies were paid in a record time of 14 days after they issued their invoices. The two are expected to avail more documents in defense of the queries raised. Kamche Menza for Channel 1 News.
Tuanzie wapi?
In the wise words of Nadia Mukami, siyo juju, ni maombi.
Oh God, if actually that was true, you know, all of us at least pray. You know, it doesn't matter who you're praying to. Yeah, you can be a Muslim, a Buddhist, as such. You pray at some point. Yeah, you believe in a higher power. Can you imagine
walking in?
You walk in and that just falls on your lap. And you know, I agree with those members of that committee. The level of, I don't know if it is ignorance.
I told you, Ray, it is either ignorance.
Have you ever seen someone
or she's very smart with what she's saying?
Someone trying to convince you, you know something?
That this is not a pen.
Like, and you actually forget the name of the person who aided you in processing it. Like, a million worth. Today, to say to bila mchezo sai, if someone was to just come, okay, fine, I'm a sweet tooth, yeah, that's it. So someone tells me
that is true.
They come and bring a tremoso or some nice white chocolate. You think I'll forget? I'll not forget, because I mean that I like that. Now imagine this is millions. With all those millions, how much would I get for my? If I was one of those committee members, I think I would have walked out in protest because that was just too much to handle. Kwa hivyo ni maombi. Okay, I'm also going to be praying going forward. I will continue praying.
And walking into deals.
And I'll walk into deals.
We'll stop having walk-in nail appointments.
But you see, I think we are a joke as a country, yeah? Remember when we were probing the NYS scandal? Remember someone walked into a bank?
Nakatoka.
Yes? Nakatoka amebeba physically pesa,
money,
magunia ya pesa. Yeah, and what came about from that particular probe? Where are we? Was anyone brought to justice? We joke too much. Then the worst thing about it is that we're looking at, we pay taxes for development. Unajua kulipa ushuru ni kujitegemea? Remember that? Then you're seated somewhere, watching the bulletin, KBC Channel 1, lunchtime news, or 9 p.m., Channel 1 news. You hear someone walked in somewhere, got a tender worth millions, but they could not show that they had the capacity to. They can't remember the person who helped them get it. They had a problem with their documentation.
But
and
still,
this is a matter of life and death. People have been dying because of COVID.
And they still got the tender.
And they got the tender. Hey, it cannot happen anywhere else. Trust me, it can only happen in Kenya. What did we say about Kenya being an ideal destination? We have dropped the word tourism and trade. It's an ideal destination for and hub for absurdity.
It's crazy.
It's totally absurd. This is the joke of the century. I was just walking by and
I walked to KEMSA without any money, but had faith that God would provide. And indeed, the Almighty intervened and I succeeded. God does miracles, and with faith, anything can happen. It was through the will of the Almighty that I won the tender, even without funds.
What?
In her words.
What? You know, with the way we talk about that, devil has been blamed for so many things.
In the wise words of Nyashinsky, lawama ni shetani na bangi.
No, God has been brought into this. So us who are questioning and saying it's absurd, we are ye people of little faith. Well, that is that. And we'll continue keeping tabs on where this leads. You know,
and mind you, she's in the interior decor business. In as much as she is a trained nurse, her company is in interior decor.
Well, you can. I mean, I am into construct. I am a journalist and I do construction and other things. But that is okay. That is fine. You can do all that. But my issue is, how do you just walk in? Like, you just walk in. Please, let's take something. Let's take some water and calm down. But that was what was happening at the PIC yesterday.
But if anything,
Howard's tabs on that.
Howard's anything to go by, we need to all pray better.
Can we say God changes people? Indeed.
We all need to pray better.
Yes. Agreed. And I want now to change focus and look at matters of politics. And this has, you know, the upcoming by-elections also in matters of politics. But now ODM leader Raila Odinga has taken issue with a section of coast leaders pushing for the formation of a coast-based political outfit, saying it will claw back, you know, or rather eat back into the gains of uniting the country. Now Raila was challenging those planning to form a coastal region or party to ship out of the ODM party or form a party with a national outlook. Ship up or ship out. This as Elgeyo Marakwet County becomes the third assembly to reject the Building Bridges Initiative bill after Baringo and Nandi counties. Now, Mandera County Assembly has given the bill a nod, bringing the total number of counties that have given a nod to the proposed amendments, 43. And 3 on the other side. 1 more remains. 1 more hangs at the balance. And I remember this, Jane, that as it was mentioned on social media. Is it that section of, is it the deputy president versus all of us in as far as the county representation is concerned? That's a rhetorical question. Here's a detailed report of that particular report by Suleiman Yeri that just puts this into perspective.
The BBI reggae tunes ruled the Voitown airwaves in Taita Taveta County Tuesday. Here, ODM leader Raila Odinga used the occasion to caution a section of ODM leaders led by Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi for their push in the formation of a coast region party. Raila lamenting that regional formations will bring ethnic divisions in the country, insisting that political parties must have the national face.
Wengine wanasema sisi kama wapwani tuna chama ya pwani. Chama ya pwani ya nini? Wapwani ni wa Kenya. Na pwani hapa, wakabila wengi wanaishi hapa.
Raila challenged those drumming up support for a coast outfit to ship out of the ODM party.
Waacheni mambo ya chama ya pwani, tutembee zote pamoja kama wa Kenya. Kama wewe hutaki kukaa kwa hii chama, anzisha ingine ya kitaifa. Hiyo ni haki ya kidemokrasia ya kila Mkenya.
This as Elgeyo Marakwet County on Tuesday became the third county after Baringo and Nandi to reject the Building Bridges Initiative BBI bill. 17 members of the county assembly voted against the bill, while 15 were in its support. But as the Elgeyo Marakwet County stopped the BBI reggae, Mandera has joined the other 42 county assemblies that have given the document a clean bill of health. This now brings to 43 counties that have so far passed the BBI bill.
We have 34 who support yes. We have 0 no, 1 abstain, 13 who are not present.
The constituency is going to come with enough resources. It's going to have an MP, it's going to have CDF in future, or maybe even awards.
Meanwhile, the Service Party leader Mwangi Kiunjuri now says they are not ready for a BBI contest during the referendum.
Going to oppose this referendum to say no. Kwa sababu gani? It is not a constitution. Ile katiba itatokea it will not be a constitution of handshake, or constitution of Kiereweke, or constitution of Tagatanga. It will be the constitution of the Republic of Kenya.
Elsewhere, Jubilee Vice Chairman David Morathe has defended the recent changes in the party's leadership that saw the removal of Caleb Kositani as Deputy Secretary General.
Even coalition agreements have exit clauses. So you cannot have a Secretary General of a party, or a Deputy Secretary General for that matter, telling you this early that he will be running on a different party in the 2022 general election.
Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
There you have it. You can get more of what is happening in regards to the political space. But just quoting what Raila had to say in regards to this particular plan to form a regional party in the coastal areas by the coast leaders, he said that the leaders have a right to speak about regional politics because Kenya is a democratic country. However, I advise them to be careful and not to segregate the region from the rest of the country. You can get more of these stories on the different dailies as well as our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. And hapa hivi Twitter ninaona Kelvin Maingi anasema, you guys make me late for work. Siwezi enda before niwaone and at least for a few minutes. Sasa Kelvo, unaweza enda sasa job. Stream us live www.kbc.co.ke.
Okay. Let me take that again. www.kbc.co.ke. Please don't mind my colleague here. And yeah, some of the stories that we'll be keenly focusing on, another what is developing is that former Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko has been resummoned to appear in court on Thursday for the mention of a fraud case against him. Remember, Sonko was supposed to appear in court yesterday and failed to show up. His defense team informed the court that he was in hospital and therefore was unfit to attend to court proceedings. So Thursday, we'll be focusing on what is going to be happening in regard to this particular issue in the corridors of justice. As we keep tabs on what is going to be happening now that we have the vaccines in the country, we understand the administration of these particular jobs is set to start tomorrow. Governors led by Meru County governors have suggested that President Uhuru Kenyatta be among the few who are going to be receiving this jab in the first phase. But Health Cabinet Secretary there, Mutahi Kagwe, says that President Uhuru Kenyatta as well as the cabinet are not on the list in this first phase. So developing or not, we will be keeping tabs on that and so much more. I'm Regina Manyara, and as we shift gears to talk about other matters, well, I'd want to say that if you are going to be streaming us live, may God direct you to bigger places, just as that lady was directed to KEMSA.
www.
Fanya hivi, wewe teremuka tu chini. Hata watu wanangojea, unasema unione, si ninakuona ndio huyu kucha. Kucha ninakuona.
Yoi.
Nimekuita mara ngapi Kate? This is the Nissan Note.
Hii ndio motoka.
Not that this is the Nissan Note we are giving out.
Na ni rahisi sana kuwekelea bid. Unaenda kwenye lipa na M-Pesa. Unaweka paybill number 4032353. Kisha unakelea account number ya Nissan Note ni Note, N-O-T-E. Namba ambayo unapenda, labda unapenda 100, labda unapenda 200. Wekelea Note 100, Note 200. Alafu tutakuitisha shilingi 40 peke yake, 40 bob only. Weka pin yako, utakuwa umekelea bid ya hii Nissan Note. Inakungoja wewe mahali popote ulipo. Mimi na mtumishi tutakupea.
Ili kupata skiza tune ya Ero uko sure kwa simu yako, bonyeza alama ya nyota 811 alama ya nyota 967 alama ya reli.
Roma kijana, ni mimi ulikuwa unatuangia hii simu ama ulikuwa umeconfuse? Fanya hivi ndio nijue uko sure. Kwanza kata hii simu, alafu uangalia kama ni mimi ulikuwa unapigia. Kama ni mimi, upigie tena na tangoja. Usikawie, ninakungoja hapa nikichunga.
Ukitaka kupata skiza hii, bonyeza alama ya nyota 811 alama ya nyota 967 alama ya reli, alama ya nyota 811 alama ya nyota 967 alama ya reli.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, greetings, Massive and crew. Welcome to the Big Bad Show. This is The Rave,
where radio meets TV each and every Wednesday.
Live on KBC Channel 1 and KBC Radio Taifa. Yazimi?
Listen to my radio. Here's some tune that's sweet.
This is where we play with the latest and the greatest, from homegrown artists to international reggae stars.
Check in The Rave with Junior Dread and DJ Stano every Wednesday from 10 p.m.
If you blink, you miss the link.
If you ain't going my way.
On the next episode,
tumeshuhudia visa vingi vya watu kupata mimba bila kutarajia. Maambukizi ya ukimwi pia yameongezeka.
Tupo nchini Uganda ambapo pikipiki zinaleta afueni kubwa katika kuimarisha afya ya uzazi. Ni vipi watoto wanaweza kuhamasishwa kuhusu janga la kiafya? Tutakuelezea athari za afya na maisha unapomaliza muda mwingi kwa kuketi chini. Tunakutana na daktari bingwa wa magonjwa ya kuambukiza anayewapa tabasamu wagonjwa wa korona Kenya.
Kwa mfano ndani ya matatu
yaani mtu mzima na miaka zake hizo miaka zote, mtu ajui kujua kuandika noti tu peke yake. Kusoma kweli itasaidia.
Nini nakusumbua na nini?
Nauliza ni bwana
Chipea. Okay.
Mama yetu.
Haya, kwani wewe nini wewe? Yaani wataka kumpiga. Huwezi mpige nini?
Good morning, and thank you for still keeping us company here. You're watching Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1. Now we got into our interactive segment this morning, and we're going to be talking about business process outsourcing and the role it plays in as far as the economic growth of the country is concerned. Taking us through this conversation, or rather joining me in this conversation, is none other than Rachel Nyamai, who's the General Manager Marketing TechnoBrain. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for making time.
Thank you for having me.
And now let's start off with, most people, when you say BPO is worse, when you say business process outsourcing, people have different, people think call centers and such. So let's start off from that. Let's define it. Let's put it into perspective.
Okay. So business process outsourcing over the years has evolved into business process management. Before, way back when, I remember when
late President Mr. Kibaki put it as a Vision 2030, where he wanted to really focus on business process outsourcing. It was mostly looked at as a call center. So where you have your outsourcing services to enterprises where they really don't need to have, you can add value to the business by doing the customer service kind of, taking up that business, that role. But over the years, we've seen, even when you look at the Philippines, India, it's evolved into adopting knowledge process management. It involves a lot of digital services that are also offered to enterprises. There's a digital spectrum also on it, where you involve robotic process automation, artificial intelligence, a bit of analytics. So it's grown into, BPO has now grown into business process management, where you manage some services for enterprises, but also bring in the digital aspect of it, where you can also offer analytics and robotic process automation and artificial intelligence. Yeah.
Now let's also boil down, let's put it down in very simple terms. Regina has a company, let's say a construction company.
Yes.
At what point would I need a BPO?
Okay, so you would need a BPO if you're working with a huge client base, right? And that means you're getting around 200 calls a day, right?
Making inquiries on services.
Yes. And also now, adding on top of it is the analytics bit, right? So if you need a call center service, if you need some marketing aspect to it. So as a manufacturer, you also need to acquire more clients. So we take up that also. It's now become also some digital marketing services that are also offered under business process management. If you need analytics of what also your clients are saying, also about your products, what can you improve on, that is also a bit of market research that also falls under the bouquet of business process outsourcing. So there's a bouquet of a lot of services that are offered, and that is where business process outsourcing has evolved into today.
That has been quite some growth there. If you look at, when you say former president there, that is Mwai Kibaki, that was some time. So how does Kenya currently compare when it comes to the BPO sector?
So Kenya has really grown in the BPO sector, because if you look at our internet connectivity, we're able to really compete with India and Philippines. If you look at our human capital, so we have very good talent when it comes to our English is very good, our competencies are very good. If you look at also the technology bit, so the adoption of technology has become, well, in Kenya it took a leapfrog over the years. So we're actually really set up to be the next BPO hub for, and if you look at also when it comes to like the impact sourcing, we have a lot of youth who are marginalized and are really looking to have employment in the mainstream industry. And enterprises in the UK, US, now the buyers, the clients, are shifting towards a lot of social responsibility, and they really want to work with organizations that are looking at impact sourcing as a factor when they're opening a BPO center or a BPM center. So we're really very strategically placed to be the next hub for BPO in Africa, not just in Kenya, but not just in East Africa, but in Africa. Yes.
All sectors of the economy have taken quite a beating when it comes to COVID-19 disruptions. How has the BPO sector reacted to the COVID-19 disruptions?
So it is, there was an effect, right? So, and over the years we've seen there was COVID, but before also the BPO sector was affected because of the political instability we had. But now, with the measures that, for example, in Technopain, the measures that we've taken to ensure that the call center, our business process outsourcing services still continue. In Kenya, it has taken a beating, but as long as we keep on taking the measures to ensure that we safeguard our employees, right? As a sector as a whole, I would believe that it is still very strong right now. It can still grow next year, but for COVID-19, I would say it was affected a bit, but it's still strong. Yes.
Now, what strategies do you think need to be employed to just, as you've said, it's domiciled on ICT, and as we all know, with ICT, we are actually walking into the industrial revolution driven by ICT. So then what strategies as a stakeholder in this value chain do you think need to be applied so that Kenya realizes that dream of becoming a BPO hub?
So I think the focus should be really on how do we educate the youth more on the next industrial revolution. Are we really educating them about the digital trends? Do they have those opportunities, and not just in the universities that are able, where the students are able to afford it, but also from a level where you have the marginalized youth. So that training, when it comes to the next, the fifth revolution, should be a focus for ICT. When it comes to ICT as a sector, they should really push for the education of the next kind of tech trends that we're looking into in the future.
Now, we've had a conversation, and actually it's an issue we are dealing with, the issue of brain drain, targeting, what we call skilled talent. We have nurses, doctors, shows a lot, actually across field, choosing to work elsewhere and not here. How can we leverage on BPOs to just stem brain drain?
So I think one of the strategies when it comes to BPO is how we can do reverse migration, right? Focus on counties. So in counties, we have a lot of youth coming into the urban centers to really look for jobs. And that has been the kind of connotation that being a nurse, being in mainstream, you have to have certain skills. But with BPO, they can go through a training course when it comes to soft skills, basic IT skills, and they're able to now have an opportunity in the mainstream BPO sector, but also grow the counties and grow the revenues in counties to be able to sustain their youth, and that will be able to avoid the brain drain that we're seeing right now. Yes.
Now, matters of brain drain and labor and such, what would you say, have the youth taken up BPOs? Are we open? The youth have already been blamed for people who lack patience when it comes to job, going through the job, the ladder and such. They cannot maintain such. Is this an opportunity for youth, for Kenya to, bridge the gap when it comes to youth unemployment? Is the BPO a sector that can take them up?
I think so. I really think so, because we have 800,000 youth coming every year, joining the labor force. Looking at what happened in 2020 with COVID, the employment, sustainable employment is not available. I really believe that youth, because BPO is a combination of outsourcing services, but also ICT. And looking at where we are in Kenya right now, we have a huge pool of talent that is really interested in ICT. All they need is training, but at the same time, this focus on BPO is how we can address youth unemployment, because it is not that they have to have the ICT, they only have to have basic ICT skills, and we take them through training, but also the people who do not have the opportunity to get into mainstream business, and this is the opportunity that BPO gives to them. Because if you look at impact sourcing, this is social responsibility, where the clients actually indicate that we need you to have social responsibility in your organization and target the marginalized youth and the people who would not really have this opportunity, and take them through a vigorous training program, and they join the mainstream and they grow from that. It's not that they just stay on BPO. This is the opportunity to even grow into the industry.
Now, talking about BPO, what JDs, or rather what are the low-hanging fruits? If you told me to, as a youth who's looking for employment, temporary, permanent, or such, just to be in the value chain, what would I be working as? Because I think that's the question. What would I be working as?
Okay, so I think the first step, and I'll give an example. We digitized, Technobrain digitized records in Kenyatta Hospital back in 2010, right? And these were thousands of records that we needed to digitize. And what we needed is to have a group of youth who can be able to come and scan these documents, and they're able to now start digitizing. So we went ahead and got youth from Kibera, right, from the marginalized areas. And these are people who might not have the skills because they didn't have the opportunity to develop such IT skills. They just need basic training and the opportunity to be able to grow. And through that, we were able to empower a large number of youth. And from there, we still have some of these youth who've grown to become supervisors in the company since that time, right? So the basic skills would require at least, you know, certain like high school or a bit of university education, but it wouldn't spoil someone who has not had, it wouldn't spoil for someone who has not had the opportunity to get that level of education to be able to join as an agent in the BPO sector. Yes.
Now, talking about, we've already now, that can be an avenue to address, you know, unemployment among the youth. But how then do we harness the potential that the BPO sector has, you know, to just support the economic growth?
So, how to harness what? I think first of all, it's definitely, if you look at one person who is employed as an agent, right, through the impact sourcing program, and we did an analysis, of one person impacts 7 people around the community. Now, this person will be like a breadwinner, but at the same time, they will go and they'll have funds to go and buy stuff from the shop, do shopping, get some food, the basic human needs. But now, if you look at the trail, is that they're not just empowering their own community, their own lives, but they're also empowering businesses around them that would have not had that kind of revenue if it was not employed. So we can harness it by really focusing on how do we grow the BPO sector. Because if we grow the BPO sector, we offer employment, we offer youth employment, and that truly goes back into the economy. Right? So if we have a focus of how can we create policies that would encourage more companies to come up, grow in the BPO sector. Yeah.
Very well said. Now, we have seen that you have been, I've just gotten info that you were awarded, or rather Technobrain was awarded the Global Impact Sourcing Award. So tell us more about this award and what it means for Technobrain.
Okay, so Global Impact Sourcing Award is a recognition of the efforts done towards impact sourcing. And impact sourcing, as I said, it's how you it's social responsibility. So providing sustainable employment to the marginalized youth. So we were recognized for this award actually last week, and something that we're very proud of. And what they looked at is a couple of things. So the commitment to really drive impact sourcing, right? And also, the second factor was, how does impact sourcing, how have we achieved the sustainable development goals for the UN sustainable goals? So no poverty, gender equality, quality work, and economic growth. The other criteria was also how have we pushed and really pushed for impact sourcing internally, but also externally. So if you look at our clients, we usually push for, and especially in telco, we push for, even if you have a call center, there is a way you can still do impact sourcing, right? So looking at all those factors, we were awarded. And it's something we're very proud of, because
I was about to ask you, what does that, how now then does that you know, impact on you as a company?
So what it does, you see, most of our clients will be in Europe and UK, right? And before they bring in business into an organization, their focus is always social responsibility. How is your BPO socially responsible? How is it affecting the community? How are you dealing with impact sourcing? So for us as a company, this means that we're socially responsible, and that is very attractive for the UK and Europe market. So for us to get more, to be able to also grow the BPO, get more individuals employed, we need to also get business from Europe and UK, right? So these large organizations would prefer a company that is socially responsible. Yes.
Very well said. If you're tuning in, you're watching Good Morning Kenya, and we're talking about business process outsourcing and it being a strategy to leapfrog in the future, make Kenya a hub for BPO, and also tackle the youth unemployment issue that you're currently dealing with. I'm joined by Rachel Nyamai, who's a general manager and acting at TechnoBrain. We take a short break. When we return, we're still going to be looking at going forward then. How do we get into the BPO sector? Do not go away. We'll be right back.
Fanya hivi, wewe teremuka tu chini. Hata watu wanangojea, unasema unione. Si ninakuona ndio huyu kucha. Kucha ninakuona.
Yoi.
Nimekuita mara ngapi Kate? This is the Nissan Note.
Hii ndio motoka.
Not that this is the Nissan Note we are giving out.
Na ni rahisi sana kuwekelea bid. Unaenda kwenye lipa na M-Pesa. Unaweka paybill number 4032353. Kisha unakelea account number ya Nissan Note ni Note, N-O-T-E. Namba ambayo unapenda, labda unapenda 100, labda unapenda 200. Wekelea Note 100, Note 200. Alafu tutakuitisha shilingi 40 peke yake, 40 bob only. Weka pin yako, utakuwa umekelea bid ya hii Nissan Note. Inakungoja wewe mahali popote ulipo. Mimi na mtumishi tutakupea.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
I've taken an oath to destroy the enemies of Magad, Father. Regardless of where they are hiding, I will hunt them down. I will go to any extent to protect my motherland. I will not hesitate and step back.
Go Ashok. Could they put an end to this war between justice and injustice?
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Mimi naitwa mzee Sawasawa. Nitalimadha lenyewe. Safishe roho yangu. Ponda mali at your own risk.
Wow.
Yaani kila siku kila nikikukanya wewe usikii, waleta ukibadilisha tu. Mimi ni tajiri bwana.
Basi uniambia ujao.
Huyu nani baba huyu? This is my house girl. Hebu nishusha hadhi. Subiri kuteseka baba. Wazungu wasema it's okay.
The DFB Pokal Cup is back. On Wednesday, 3rd March, we bring you the standout fixture as the top teams in Germany, RB Leipzig and Wolfsburg, take on each other in what is expected to be a cracker.
This is Angelino! This man is red hot!
From 10:45 p.m. Don't miss these exciting games live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner. On the next episode of
Saida.
Takuficha wapi sasa?
Saida fungua. Yaani Saida hufungui?
Mume wangu, pana subra.
Dawa wote hasemi chochote?
Hasemi chochote, kazi yake tu kutafuta tu.
Huku ya hema kama lori.
Huku ya hema kabisa, nakwambia. Leo mpaka kanywa maji.
Kwani rafiki yangu? Kwani leo ulikuwa uficho wapi wewe? Ulikuwa uficho wapi wewe?
Wewe vipi mume wangu?
Next on
SMS zimejaa hapa kutoka juu mpaka chini, hakuna maandiko.
Nikuulize papi.
Hiyo simu hata nikwambie nitavunja.
Utavunja?
Nimeboeka sana bana.
Tafadhali kuachana na hiyo simu kwanza.
Ngoja kidogo kwa.
Mambo simu sasa.
Utangoja nimalize simu yangu ama nikudumie? Kuna hospitali jirani huko unaweza enda. Na wewe umetoka kula takataka unakuja kuniletea hapa.
Unajua? Saturday yaandikangu hivyo.
Ni nini wewe? Kwani unasoma message zangu?
Uniungwana kweli? Nauliza tabia kama hizo, haswa nyinyi wadaku
wa kuangalia simu za watu na kusikiliza maneno ya watu wanavyozungumza kwa simu ni ungwana?
Good morning. If you're tuning in, this is Good Morning Kenya, and we're talking about business process outsourcing, what we term as BPOs, and the impact that it can play in growing the economy. Taking us through this conversation is none other than Rachel Nimai, who's the General Manager in Marketing Technobrain. And before we took a short break, we were talking about, strategies on why we can harness our, the potential that we have and realize that particular dream that you said, that Kenya can indeed be a hub, a BPO hub. Now let's talk about, let's put this into perspective as we're winding down, is business process outsourcing. People need to understand that. There's a term that we all refer, it's a call center and such, and you've said you offer marketing, research and such. And questions that I'm getting on my feed here is that Kenyans, the youth actually want to understand. So you have mentioned scanning. What else, when you say BPO, what other skills can I offer? This is someone who is looking for a job and is a university graduate. So they want to know, if I say a BPO, if let's say maybe they come to Technobrain, what areas, what fields would they be doing research work? Will they be marketing? What will they be doing?
So it depends on the opportunity that is there, right? So some clients we have would like market research, right? So the people that we get that go through an interview process, but it does not mean that you have to have a marketing research background, because we already have a training program to take you through that. So it is the basic skills that you need. Even when it comes to ICT, you don't need the IT skills, right? If you have a university degree and you want to join a BPO, it is the interest actually. That is the one recommendation I would give someone. Take an interest, come in and say, this is my CV, I'd really like to see what opportunities are there. And once you go through an interview process, which is basically, because it starts from a standard place, a basic kind of, we wouldn't really require someone to have like years of experience, right? So it is the interest first to join.
Interest first.
It is the interest first. They go through a training process and they would be able to pick up the basic skills that they need. Yes.
Now, I'd want to now focus on what Technobrain has done over the years and how, it can be exported to other technology companies in Kenya, to create opportunities for this youth that we're talking about. So what recommendations would you give? Skills, so to speak.
So what Technobrain did first was have a niche model. And we chose impact sourcing from the get-go. You see, when it comes to a business process outsourcing business, it's also you have to look at the cost. So because you have to have 500 people, what is the cost of the human capital, right? So how you go about it is looking at the niche model, like what Philippines have done, India, they've done the same, because the cost has to be, you have to manage the costs. So once you have a niche model, now if you have the infrastructure, you have internet connectivity, this is over the years we've really invested in infrastructure to ensure that we have the best infrastructure. And of course, as they say, sometimes people they still don't have an understanding of business process outsourcing. They think it's just a call center, but there's also technology behind it, right? You need to understand the kind of software that is used, a bit of analytics, but that now is under the model that you decide to pick up. If you're just going for basic call center, so that you just need to focus on the human capital. If you want to join the digital spectrum, it's also the investment that you do onto technology, right? So it's first picking the niche model. I would also advise if you want to get into that space, first start small. Because we started actually, we started in 2008, with a fairly small group of people. But over the years, because we really saw the benefits that it gave to the youth who are employed, but also for Technobrain as a business and as a social responsibility that we have been able to grow, and we have been able to grow organically. So, and not just in Kenya, we've grown even in East Africa, right? And we've been able to grow organically and have sustainable employment for the youth, right? Because of a niche model.
You've talked about ICT, and just as a by the way, what would be your take on our current internet speeds in terms of contact speeds as well as connectivity? How do we compare?
We actually are way ahead in Africa, right? Our connectivity is able to sustain businesses, whether it's BPO, whether it is...
So are you satisfied with that, or we can do more?
We can do more. We can do more, but compared to the rest of Africa, we're way ahead, right? And even when it comes to the penetration, internet connectivity penetration, because in some countries, if you go to the rural area, it's very hard to have ICT projects because there's no connectivity.
Now, talking about rural areas, then, how do we use these BPOs to stem that? Because we've been seeing, you know, a migration when you finish school, people leave Mashinani, come to upmarket, or what we call the cities and search for jobs. Then how, if we apply the BPOs, then how will this change this? That we develop Mashinani.
Yes, and it's actually a very good conversation to have with the counties, right? How can we create jobs, employment, and do reverse migration? BPO can be able, you see, as we said, because of the impact sourcing model that we use, the business is there, right? As Technobrain, we can say the business is there. It is about getting an infrastructure ready, and also now getting the youth in as agents, training them. And you have, first of all, you have sustainable employment for your youth in there. But this youth start now, because of the impact in the community, they start generating revenue and for the counties, right? So it is a conversation to be had with the counties, and because we have connectivity in these counties, right? We have youth who are ready to be employed. It is the infrastructure and the willingness for this to happen, right? But of course, this cannot happen without the push from the county government, right? Yes.
What are your expectations as a stakeholder within the value chain, the BPO value chain, post-COVID? Now we have the vaccines, they landed yesterday, and we're going to be doing phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 as you proceed. What are your expectations for the sector?
My expectation is that it will grow. Because you see, when you're running a business process outsourcing center, that is, you have a lot of young people in one space. So we are able to grow because now we're able to have a way to curb what has happened last year, and at least handle COVID in a way where we can be safe. We can assure that the youth will be safe in a safe environment. So the BPO definitely can grow, but also at the same time, even with the vaccine, this is an opportunity, right? This is an opportunity where our centers can say, okay, so this is a call number, just in case of anything. You see, there are also opportunities where people can look at business process outsourcing. How can we? There's a vaccine coming out.
Yeah, monitor the efficacy.
Yes.
Distribution.
Exactly.
And such. Yes. Now, as we wind down, I'd want us to, just to give you a minute to just talk to a person who's been thinking, you know what, I'm home, there's nothing that I'm doing. I have the requisite skills, but, still employment has been forthcoming.
Okay.
Why would they get into BPO?
Why would they get into BPO?
Yeah, why would they?
I think if we look at the opportunities that are there, right now, it is best to jump into an opportunity that is readily available, right? And that means you have the opportunity to join mainstream business and grow. So every challenge, look at it as an opportunity. If you're sitting at home, it is the effort that you need to, get in touch with us, see if there are opportunities available, and have the willingness to know that you might start as an agent, or as we call them as an agent, you have the opportunity to grow into the mainstream business, and also at some point even own your own business process outsourcing center, right? So it is something to think about. But the first step is always the willingness to step out and reach out and see where the opportunity is and start from there. Yeah.
Very well said, and very well. I'm not going to try and water that down. So if you've been wondering, what you can do with the available time that you have, as our guest has just said, who is a general manager, marketing techno brain, is at the BPO. What we call business process outsourcing is a sector that, is willing to take in basically everybody, different ages, provided you're of legal age, and all you need is just basic skills and willingness to learn the trade. As I say, the BPO might just be the sector that is going to leapfrog the economy going forward, especially post-COVID, given that this was envisioned in a Vision 2030 as one of the main six economic pillars to, grow and support the country's economy. I'm Regina Manyara. You're watching KBC Channel 1. From me and Rachel this morning is to wish you a great day ahead. I know Kenyans are keeping tabs on what is going to be happening, and as far as the rollout of the vaccine, as my guest has said this morning, this has created an opportunity. If you have a BPO there, what is the distribution size so far? Who is using it? What are the reactions to this particular jab and such? Well, that's a business idea shared right here on KBC Channel 1. Good morning, Kenya. Have a pleasant day ahead.
International Day of Zero Tolerance to FGM is an annual event celebrated every year on the 6th of February. Now, the United Nations have made various strides, and hence this particular day, just to be able to curb and stop this practice. When it comes to here in the country, in Kenya, the government has also made various strides with the notion of wanting to stop this practice by 2022. Female genital mutilation is one practice, just in various parts of this country, different counties, with prevalence being in places such as Kisii, Embu, Meru, Taita Taveta, and even Kuria. We embark on a 6-part series to better understand what would make, some people in this country to be able to do that, and also to be able to have conversations with those that have undergone the cut, and also at least to try and better understand which are the things that the government doing to ensure that actually all of this will be a thing of the past. My name is Dorina Range. Welcome to the program. Mama Fides,
yes.
Nataka tuanze na wewe. Nataka tu tueleze jina lako kwa kikamilifu na wewe unafanya kazi gani?
Kwa majina, mimi naitwa Fides Gachoe Kithenji. Nimeshaliwa area hii inaitwa Kajoki Location, Kithinge Sub Unit, Igamba Ng'ombe Division, Tharaka Nithi County.
Tharaka Nithi County.
Yeah.
Tulipokuwa tunazungumza pale awali, at least tuliweza kujua wewe ni ambaye ulikuwa unafanya hii kukeketa wasichana ama kuwatairi, lakini uliwacha. Nataka tuanzie pale kwa ulianza mwaka gani na nini kilikufanya uanze kukeketa ama kutairi wasichana?
Wajua kukeketa unaanja sababu mimi ni mkulima. Na kuna wakati mimi nimeolewa na mtu maskini sana. Hata familia yetu ilikutaka niolewe na huyo mtu sababu alikuwa maskini wa mwisho. Baba yake amekufa kitambo. Sasa kabaki na mama yake naye akashukuriwa na mtu mwingine. Sasa yeye akatupiliwa mbali. Sasa kakaa peke yake. Sasa kienda kiolewa mtu anapokonywa. Anaambiwa wewe ni maskini. Utaleta nini? Sababu hapa huwezi kuoa ukiwa una mali, unapeleka mbuzi poteiti na ng'ombe 4 na ile ndume na vyombo vingine. Kwa hivyo hakukuwa na kitu. Sasa nikaona wasa ni sababu nampenda nimfuate, tuende tukatafute mali yetu, tukalime. Sababu yeye ni mkulima. Sasa nikamfuatilia, tukaishi, tukawa na watoto. Sasa akafanga wasa ende Mombasa, akaenda akatafute pesa. Kuenda Mombasa huko hakuna pesa, anaajiriwa kama 1,500 na ameacha watoto 5 na atakomboa nyumba.
Wakati ulikuwa na watoto 5?
Nilikuwa na watoto 5. Sasa na hiyo pesa ndiyo atalipa naso nyumba. Hakuna. Sasa hiyo msaada tamsaidia nini? Hakuna. Na uko na watoto. Sasa nikaona niende kwetu ama nifanye nini, sababu anaenda na msala yake ni kidogo na watoto wanaenda shule. Sasa nikaona sasa wasa nione kama nikitairi nitasapata pesa. Sasa nikaanja hapo nikafuatilia wale walikuwa na barua. Wajua huku kutairi zamani ilikuwa ukienda kutairi unaenda unapea sibu pesa. Unakupatia barua unaenda kutairi naye. Sasa ukiwa unapata ile barua utaenda hivyo, utakuwa ukienda bila amuke. Asubuhi saa 12 umetairi. Umemaliza na unapewa kitu.
Kwa hivyo wewe kuanza kutairi wasichana ilikuwa ni kwa sababu ulikuwa unataka mapato ya kila siku kujikimu kimaisha.
Nipate pesa.
Na ilikuwa mwaka gani ukianza Mama Phyllis?
Sasa kama ni kama 1985
ndio ulianza. Na ulifanya kwa muda wa miaka ngapi kabla uache?
Nilifanya kuna watu walikuja kutokea upande wa nchi yetu ilikuja inaitwa Sefu Busunduni Canada. Sasa wao ndio walikuja wakatutengenezea semina. Tukaitwa Mitunguu. Mbele tuliitwa Kidhino, tukaenda huko. Nikaenda mimi peke yake sababu mimi nilikuwa na kikundi. Sasa nikaitwa kama sialindi wa kikundi. Watu wanashughulika na kikundi. Wajua kikundi ndio kina watu wengi. Sasa mimi nikaitwa hapo. Sasa nikaenda nikafundishwa. Nikasikia nilikuwa nimetairi watoto wangu wawili. Sasa nikasikia ni vizuri kwanza. Tukaenda tukafundishwa madhara ya kutairi, na ile madhara inasika mtu akiwa ametairiwa hata akijifungua ni sinda. Sasa nikaambiwa sasa utaleta viongozi wa kwenu. Utaleta assistant chief pia na chief na mwenye kutairi yule wale wanatairi wafundishwe sababu ugonjwa ya ukimwi ilikuwa imetokea. Sasa wafundishwe ukiwa wataenda kutairi wakawa wanavaa ile gloves. Sasa nikaandikisha sibu, sabchivu, wengine. Sasa tuende nao na wale wanatairi. Wale walikuwa na permit, wanaenda mpaka Kambani, wanaenda Dhagishu kutairi huko. Sasa nikawaambia wakwenda. Wakakataa, tukaenda na mama ya ule mtu mwenye nyumba 10 ndio wamekubali. Tuende naye semina na mwingine.
Wajua hii mafunzo yenye ulipata pale ndio ilikufanya uone hakuna jamii kuendelea hili jambo.
Wacha niite wengine sababu sitaweza peke yangu, sababu uwezi kukaa kwa community ukiwa unafanya hiyo maneno peke yako. Unaweza uagiwa na watu. Sasa nikawaita. Sasa hao 3 tulienda nao, wengine wamekataa. Na tukaitana kama endi location, Mutino location, lakini tukaenda tukasoma. Wale tulienda nao wakina mama wawili wa huku tukaandikisha watoto kubereka semina, wakafundishwe madhara ya kutairiwa na ile inaingianga. Sasa wale wakina mama wawili wakakubali na mimi nikakubali, tukabereka watoto 3. Sasa wakati tumeanja kupeleka watoto ile sinda tumefata hata sasa inatufuata sisi. Tukapeleka watoto huko wakafundishwa, wakasana na hiyo mambo ya kutairiwa. Sasa tukirudi huku sio sinda hiyo, tulikuwa hata tunataka kusomwa sababu ile tulikuwa tunaandika hata watoto wa shibu wa mashabuchibu, tukakuta tukienda semina tukitoka wanatairi wao.
Kwa hivyo walikuwa wanataka kuwachoma kwa sababu nyinyi mko pale kwa ile mpango ya ku make sure hii mambo yote inaacha.
Sisi tumemaliza hiyo maneno.
Nataka sasa turudi nyuma kidogo ndio at least tuweze kuelewa ni nini ambayo huwa inaenda kwa hiyo mpango yote before mtu akue ambaye anatairi watu. Wewe ulianza hiyo miaka ya 80. Kuna mafunzo ulikuwa unapitia kutoka kwa wale wenye walikuwa na tairi pale awali kukufunza vile ambavyo unafaa ukifanya hiyo jambo tairi na hiyo yote.
Hiyo yote unafunzwa, unaambiwa ukitairi wasichana 10 ndio utakubaliwa uwe unapewa barua. Na barua ilikuwa inatolewa inachukuliwa kwa chief. Ili uwe ujulikane wewe unaenda msana kama za hiyo ukiwa unaimbiwa. Sasa wakati huo mimi sikuwa ninafikisha ila watoto 10. Hapana.
Hiyo wakati ukianza.
Nikienda semina nilikuwa tu nimetairi kama kiasi ya umuhimu ya kuzipisa, nilikuwa natairi, lakini unatakiwa utairi wako wako wa familia wako na wangu. Nilikuwa na tairi wawili, nikaenda kwa wengine kwetu, kama boma yenu una tairi huko, sababu wanakujua na wanajua wewe kama umetairi kwako, unajua kutairi, wezi kutairi msichana kupe. Kwa hivyo tukaendelea hivyo.
Kwa hivyo kwanza lazima ukometairiwa kwako ndio wafanye wajue kwamba unaweza tairi hata
sababu umetairi wako, wezi kuambia utairi mtoto ya mwingine bila tairi wako.
Okay.
Sababu wewe unaambiwa ujui.
Na huo wakati Mama Fides, ni nini ambacho kilikuwa kinakupatia motisha ya kutaka kuendelea? Kwa sababu unapata ukienda sehemu nyingine wanakuambia mimi nilikuwa napata mazawadi, napata pesa, ndio maana nilitaka kuendelea. Wewe ni nini ilifanya uendelee kwa hizi miaka zote kutairi wasichana?
Wajua ulikuwa unatairi kisirisiri, hakuna mtu anajua kama unatairi. Unaenda unatairi, unakujua unatairi, unarundi. Sasa ukirundi vile, wajua ni kama vile unapewa mtihani unapita. Sasa ukipita, ukikuwa na watu 10 wako, sasa hiyo ndio kama unafunuliwa. Unapatiana ile sakura, wanakura, alafu wanakuambia sasa wewe endelea kabisa. Ni kama vile unafanya mtihani wa form 4. Kama ukapita uende university.
Kwa hivyo wewe ukitairi walikuwa wanakupea zawadi. Kwa hivyo hiyo ndio ilikuwa
wanakuangalia, hata ule mwenye kutairi yule wa zamani anakuangalia, anaona wewe unajua. Mnaenda naye anakuambia wewe tairi hapa. Tairi hapa unatairi. Sasa wakati mimi nilienda kusoma na ule mwenye kutairi akakata kwenda hiyo seminar, mimi nikaasana na wao. Mimi nikaona wacha niache.
Kwa hivyo hii ilikuwa mwaka gani ambapo ulikuja? Hii seminar ilikuwa mwaka gani?
Kama 1999.
Kwa hivyo na hiyo ndio mwaka pia uliwacha. So from 1999 haujakuwa ukitairi msichana. Na kuna wale ambao bado huwa wanakuita, wanakuambia Mama Fides, nataka uje unitairie msichana wangu.
Nilikuwa naitwa hata ile kushika
na
mtoto.
Unakataa.
Mtoto kama wewe ukitaka kutairiwa unakuja kwangu na sukari kilo 2 na majani, pia ile unga ya ngano unaniletea. Nije nikakusike utairiwe. Sasa hiyo waona, hiyo nilikuwa nasika wasichana 3. Ninakujua naenda nasika mtoto. Kwa hivyo wakati nimeacha, mimi nikiletewa sukari nasema nimetoka huko.
Unakataa sasa?
Nakataa, nasema kerunya kaire ntigetonga anankagererwa ngabana kaya akandinga mukono ntigetonga ewa kwa mware enwa mugambo nchowewe wakidhomo. Ni wakidhomo.
So hiyo ni kumaanisha?
Ni kusema nimekataa hata hiyo kusika hiyo inatairi. Siwezi.
Kwa hivyo hata mtu akikuja asema Mama Fides, niko na pesa hivi, niko na pesa fulani, niko na zawadi fulani, nataka unitairie msichana wangu, wewe unakataa?
Mimi nakataa. Nasema hiyo siwezi kukusa hivyo. Hata ngabana kikuja. Wakati huo tulisema mbunge akaninga mkono huu. Siwezi. Nimekataa.
Na pia tumesikia hadithi nyingi kuhusu kwamba kuna wale ambao walikuwa wanapata, tuseme ni kama ni powers za kukusaidia kukua mbele ya wale ambao wako pale walikuwa na tairi. Jambo kama hilo lilikuwa linafanyika hapa Tharaka Nithi, ambaye mtu anatahiri kama vile wewe ulikuwa unatahiri hiyo miaka pale nyuma. Ulikuwa unaenda unapata nguvu fulani za kukusaidia kukua mbele ya wale ambao ulikuwa umepata pale nyuma yako.
Ningekuwa mbele, sababu mambo ya kutairia hapa Tharaka Nithi watu wanafurahia. Sababu ilikuwa kama sherehe kubwa. Kama ile mnaitanga, kama tuseme unafanya harusi unafanyia ile mahoteli kubwa. Sasa mkaenda kukula msiki nini, si furaha? Ilikuwa furaha nyingi. Lakini wakati huo huku ule mwenye kutufundisha alituambia ile gamba ng'ombe hakuna mtu amesoma au kama anafanya ritaya hiyo miaka yote kutoka huko kutoka kama 60s tukuje 54 kukuja hivi, hakuna mtu amesoma. Mtu anapeleka msichana yake kama wewe shule, anaenda namuita, nampea ng'ombe, anarundi, anatairiwa, naolewa. Ni kama sisi wakati tulianja, sasa sisi ndio tunakona mazao, sababu tumefundisha wasichana kama nyinyi. Ukitairiwa wewe unagraduate, unaenda kuolewa.
Wewe nataka nijue kutoka kwako, wakati ambapo ulikuwa unafanya bado kutairi, kuna nguvu ulienda kupata ndio uweze kukua mbele ya wale ambao
Hapana, sikupikia nguvu sababu wakati ule ukitahiri wasichana wako 10 unaita watu wanakubariki sasa. Unawapea senge, wanakula, unawavikia mapombe ili wakubariki na upewe ile miti.
So hiyo kubariki ni kukuombea?
Unikuombea huo unaitwa na watu wengi sababu kuna wenye kutairia wengine. Sasa hapo sikupika hiyo kiwango.
Kufika kiwango ya
Hapana. Sikupewa. Wajua ukipata nguvu unapewa ile mti. Unaenda unamwambia nikikuona na kufanya hivi unaniambia mimi nataka nitairie. Stuke.
Hata kama sitaki na
kama wewe sasa hii nikiwa na hiyo mti nikakufanya hivyo utajua unaambia mimi nataka ukienda nyumbani unasema mimi nataka kutairiwa.
Hata kama iko
hata kwa baba yako unamwambia mimi nataka kutairiwa. Baba mimi unaingia kwa boma ya baba, nyumba ya babako. Naambia ni baba nataka kutairiwa. Kwa nini mama uliona nini utairiwe? Mimi nataka kutairiwa, sitaki mambo mengine.
Kwa hivyo tuseme hata kama haiko kwa kichwa changu, hata kama sikuwa naifikiria. Ukikuja na hiyo muti
hiyo,
unakuja tu.
Unafurahia. Unapenda hiyo na ujui ni nini unapenda. Sababu ni kutairiwa na kutairiwa utasikia uchungu. Lakini wakati unapenda ujui mahali unaenda. Wewe unatairiwa sababu utarundi kusikia uchungu ukiwa kwa nyumba. Wow.
Tuseme wewe hukufikia hicho kiwango.
Sikufikia hiyo kiwango. Sikufikia kiwango. Na tulikuwa wajua sisi tulikuwa wa kanisa na kanisa ile tulikuwa itakangi mambo ya kutairi. Ni kama tu kujipisa.
Hivyo ulikuwa unafanya kichini chini.
Sini sana. Hata nikitairi watu wajua reverend akivika wakijua wewe unatairi anakuondoa ukiwa wewe si mtu mzuri unakaa nyuma. Ukiwa uko na kiti mbele unakaa nyuma. Unakuwa kiti ya nyuma sababu wewe umefanya makosa. Sababu ukifanya makosa hata ukitairi watu wakitairi wanaenda wanaambia mchungaji mimi nimetairi na sasa nataka kurudishwa sijui kwa kiadhi. Unaombewa unarundi. Sasa hiyo ndio maneno
mazito haya.
Mazito
kweli. Sasa Mama Phyllis, 1999 ukaamua uache. Ni nini hasa unafanya kwa sasa kuelimisha wale ambao bado wanaendelea, because bado kwa sasa kuna wale ambao wanasema ni culture. Sisi ni Waafrika lazima tufanye hivi.
Ilikuwa kasa na hata mimi wakati nilitairiwa nikiwa mkubwa sababu si hakuna kampuni. Unajua hii ni kampuni yako sasa. Sasa unaona wewe ukiacha huyu akitairiwa na huyu atairiwe na huyu mwingine, wewe huwezi waachwa peke yake. Sasa unakosa kampuni. Unajua kampuni. Sasa hiyo ndio inaniwezesha nitairiwe sababu hakuna mtu tunakaa na yeye. Nitakuwa peke yangu. Na wakati nilikataa kutairi, tukakataa, sisi tulitengwa. Community katutenga, tukoa sisi ni peke yetu, hatuna mtu hata wakati huu. Sisi ni mtu kibyake. Sababu huyo ameingia kwa ile mahali hakuna chakula hapo. Na wakati mimi nimefundishwa kutairi ni madhara ni hata ukienda kufuata mtoto uko na sinda. Kujifungua ni sinda ukiwa umetairiwa. Haya, ule mtoto haya atairiwa anakuja anapata mtoto anakwasa hapo ukiwa na ushungu. Waona? Sasa hiyo nikaona ni sinda moja. Ititose ukitairi msizana ataenda shule tena. Anataka kuenda kuolewa na ujue huku hata vijana hawezi kuongea na mtu akiwa hajatairiwa ni mtoto. Ukitairiwa sasa unaenda na hii vijana. Sasa hiyo unaona hiyo
mtu mzima.
Ni mtu mzima sasa. Na huyo akiwa ametairiwa ukimwambia kitu hawezi kusikia tena. Ni mtu mkubwa sasa, ni kama amegraduate university sijui. Huwezi kumwambia kitu akusikie sababu ni mtu mzima. Nimetairiwa, ukimwongeleza anasema mimi nimetairiwa. Na hakuna kitu utamfanya sababu umemtairia. Sasa nikaona wasa mimi nikae nifundisha nione kama nitakuwa na watoto wamesoma. Sababu ukifundisha ukitairi mtoto anaolewa. Hata akiwa class 3 anasoma, akitairiwa hapo anaolewa. Hakuna kusoma tena. Kwa hivyo naye ni sinda moja. Hapo pengine uko na sinda wewe. Wakati tulienda seminar tulikuwa tunataka kusomewa kwa njia. Jamani.
Kwa sababu kwa nini mnaenda semina na hii?
Ni kwa nini?
Hii ni Afrika.
Kwa nini mumalize hii mila yetu na hakuna kitu tutakula? Wajua Eric, wakati mtu anatairi watu wanakuja kwa hii boma wengi. Natengeneza na zawadi mtoto aletewe na chakula na utasinja. Kwa hivyo ukihesabu hapo, niliona ile mama hii vyombo vinaliwa, unaweza hiyo pesa unapeleka nazo mtoto kamaliza form 4. Sasa nikaona hivyo nikasoma hako. Sasa nikaona wakati mwingine. Sasa mimi niko peke yangu. Sasa nitafanya nini? Nikaambia watoto sasa wewe umetairiwa na huyu hajatairiwa, mtakaa mzuri. Na hakuna kutukana mwingine. Ili hata ilikuwa sinda. Sababu vijana wangu si wametairiwa na mmoja ameoa mwenye ametairiwa na mwingine akaoa mwenye ametairiwa. Hata ni ile mchizana wangu nimepeleka kwa semina akasoma. Akaolewa nikaletewa ng'ombe. Hata nikikamua maziwa hapa hakuwa akikunywa. Anasema kuwezi kukunywa ya mudhera. Anakataa. Mudhera wajua ni yule mtu hajatairiwa. Anakataa.
Sasa lazima kunyele ambaye msichana ametairiwa.
Sasa wajua hiyo ni kambo nyingine inamegauka. Sasa mimi nikakaa penye masakinywa. Wajua kule kwingine nako wakati unaenda kutairi unapea mashivu pesa. Nao wametutenga. Sisi tukakaa hivyo. Ule amesomesa watoto wasichana wawili na hakuajiriwa kazi hata sasa. Ambia ataajiriwa na hiyo na huko alienda. Sababu hakutairi watu wapate kitu, wacha saidiwe na hiyo. Haya, kwa mimi nami nimefundishwa 6. Hakuna mtu ameajiriwa kazi. Wacha asaidiwe na hiyo kukataa kutairi kwake, sababu amefundisha watu wakae vile kutairi, hakuna kitu tutapata kwao, wacha wakae. Tukakaa ngumu.
Sasa nataka tukimalizia Mama Fides, utueleze tu kwa kifupi kwa wale wasichana ambao wanaona ni kama wanataka pia wale kutairi, as much as tunajaribu ku stop EFGM. Tukimalizia unaweza ambia hawa wasichana nini?
Mimi nawaelezea wasitairi tena, utairiwa kunafitwa na wakati. Ile iko ni kufundishwa kusoma. Wasome, akiajiriwa kazi yeye akona hata akikataliwa kuolewa ambiwe ni mudhera, si ataajiriwa na hiyo masomo. Sababu ukiwa na pesa hakuna mtu anakuambia wewe ni mudhera. Atakuwa akikwambia hivi anakunyonya hapa sababu wewe ni mwenye pesa. Lakini ukiwa masikini ni nani atakuuliza na hakuna ofisi unaenda uambiwe leta ile certificate ya kutairiwa.
Asante sana Mama.
Sasa mimi naweza kuambia wasome na watu wafundishe watoto. Tulikuwa tunaenda tukifundisha watu hivyo, na mimi nimetengeneza kikundi kinaitwa Mkenya. Sasa wao watu wakiondoka wengine wakuja watu wa fulani, hata wa fulani na warudishia fulani.
Message yako ni hawa wasichana wasome.
Wasome. Naenda.
Mama Fides Kenji just talking to us about her own experience at the time when she was a cutter, and she attributes all of this to some issues about not having a good source of livelihood, which ultimately is what makes her craving to continue with this practice. Well, for now, we just hope that the government interventions and the different programs the government is trying to introduce to ensure that FGM becomes a thing of the past by 2022 will actualize.
Fanya hivi, wewe teremuka tu chini. Hata watu wanangojea, unasema unione. Si ninakuona ndio huyu kucha. Kucha ninakuona. Nimekuita mara ngapi Kate? This is the Nissan Note.
Hii ndio motoka.
Not that this is the Nissan Note we are giving out.
Na ni rahisi sana kuwekelea bid. Unaenda kwenye lipa na M-Pesa. Unaweka pay bill number 4032353. kisha unaekelea account number ya Nissan Note ni Note, N-O-T-E. Namba ambayo unapenda, labda unapenda 100, labda unapenda 200, wekelea Note 100, Note 200, alafu tutakuitisha shilingi 40 peke yake, 40 bob only. Weka pin yako, utakuwa umekelea bid ya hii Nissan Note. Inakungoja wewe mahali popote ulipo. Mimi na mtumishi tutakupea.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
I've taken an oath to destroy the enemies of Magad Father, regardless of where they are hiding. I will hunt them down. I will go to any extent to protect my motherland. I will not hesitate and step back.
Go Ashok. Today put an end to this war between justice and injustice.
On the next episode,
tumeshuhudia visa vingi vya watu kupata mimba bila ya kutarajia. Maambukizi ya ukimwi pia yameongezeka.
Tupo nchini Uganda ambapo pikipiki zinaleta afueni kubwa katika kuimarisha afya ya uzazi. Ni vipi watoto wanaweza kuhamasishwa kuhusu janga la kiafya? Tutakuelezea athari za afya na maisha unapomaliza muda mwingi kwa kuketi chini. Tunakutana na daktari bingwa wa magonjwa ya kuambukiza anayewapa tabasamu wagonjwa wa corona Kenya.
Next on.
SMS zimejaa hapa kutoka juu mpaka chini, hakuna maandiko.
Nikuulize Pablo.
Hiyo simu hata nikwambie nitavunja.
Utavunja?
Nimeboeka sana bana.
Tafadhali hebu achana na hiyo simu kwanza.
Ngoja kidogo kwa. Utangoja nimalize simu yangu ama nikudumie? Kuna hospitali jirani huko unaweza enda. Na wewe umetoka kula takataka unakuja kuniletea hapa.
Unajua Saturday yaandikangu hivyo.
Ni nini wewe? Kwani unasoma message zangu?
Uniungwana kweli? Nauliza tabia kama hizo, haswa nyinyi wadaku wa kuangalia simu za watu na kusikiliza maneno ya watu wanavyozungumza kwa simu, ni ungwana?
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
It's him. Amaya's husband. He was the man who ran me over in Chiapas. That guy was there when we met. Then why did she lie to me? Why?
I don't know why you insist on saying that he was in Chiapas.
Because I saw him. Because he was your husband who ran me over and left me lying on the street when you and I were in Chiapas.
I'm called Luchieng Tekla. I'm 19 years old. I'm in Form 3. And this child labor issue, I may experience when I joined Form 1. And my dad and my parents got divorced in 2005. I used to stay with my aunt. My dad was nowhere to be seen. And this my aunt is very poor lady. So when I joined Form 1, there was no school fee. Although I joined a day school, but the marks I got was supposed to take me to a boarding school, but due to poverty, I joined day school. In this day school, we had to have this meal card. So due to my aunt can't provide that school fees for me. I used to go to school without lunch, and coming back home, there was no supper also.
This is Tekla's story, an experience that unfortunately several other children in Kenya are going through. What are the factors enhancing the prevalence of child exploitation?
One major challenge is child-headed homes, where a child must work to get other basic rights like food. You know, you can try to eliminate some children from labor, but when there's no one to provide for them, then it's still subjected to child labor. And therefore, that is what we are trying to address in partnership with other organizations, so that when we get a child who must just work to get other rights like life and survival, the child gets supported, so that we declare that place a child labor free zone. Secondly, there are conflicts in families that subject children out of their homes. So we are having children that are in the street, children that are in the villages, and these children are not in school, so they have to get some work somewhere. So those are challenges that we are facing in relation to our work to declaring our zone a free zone of child labor.
Statistics indicate that children are victims of human trafficking within and outside the country and are exploited to engage in domestic work, agricultural work, fishing, begging, and street vending.
Tend to have money, and when they are walking the village, they show that they have money, they can buy their own things. They are having some kind of freedoms that influence other children also to engage in labor, not thinking about school, because they are seeing school as another problem. School is also squishing them with some other regulations. So when they get involved in child labor, they feel some freedom, and they have their own money that they're running. That is one. And again, there is every community is unique. There are some cultures that are also geared working towards supporting the child labor. Like when you graduate a child, that's now you are adults, things like FGM, things like these initiations. When a child is already past a certain age through initiation process, he thinks that is big, now can get to go and work. And the age is still demanding that the child should be in school. So those are other things that we are facing. So if we are in a society which are having some other norms and these cultural practices.
According to Michael Ochieng Kaponja, Child Labor Free Zone Coordinator, the society too needs to join in the fight against child labor.
It's a bigger challenge again, because the society cannot again account for a child to be in school, because we believe in the social protection that even if the parents are poor, parents are ignorant, but the society, the system and the structures in the society will ensure that the child is taken care of, because the child belongs to the country.
Non-governmental organizations have partnered with government to create child labor free zones, but it has not been easy.
We are an alliance. We work with many other partners. We want the government, we want the private sector, and we want even the ones that you saw today coming in. We want to work with everybody so that we can be able to realize the 8 child labor free zones in this region, in Migori, in Kisumu, and in Vihiga County. And I think we are moving into a phase now where we are talking about child labor education, arts, and research. So basically, we are talking about now moving beyond just children being at risk, but moving into a level where we are going to add in education, add in issues of research, and issues of education, and issues of documentation.
When a child tells you he or she wants to be a mkokoteni puller, what does it mean? The only thing they see, the joy they know, is that. And true, if we are not able to mentor our children, even as leaders, from where we stand at Spain, it's not going to be very easy for us.
Going forward, Michael Ochieng is hoping for an inclusive approach from government as well as the society itself in arresting child labor in order to secure the future of the young generation.
A lot of sanitation has to be done because there are some class of people who still don't know the difference between child work and child labor.
Regina Manyara reporting for KBC Channel 1.
Good morning. In case you are just joining us, Karibu Chana Sana. This is Good Morning Kenya. I'm Jane Mamboy. We are glad you are with us this morning, and we'd love to know where you are watching us from. So why don't you go ahead and check in Pale Twitter using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya, and remember to tag at KBC Channel 1, at Jane Mamboy, and at Ray Manyara, so that we can be able to get all your feed in regards to these discussions that we are having in studio this morning. So right now we want to get onto our viewpoint Online segment, and today it's all about the COVID-19 vaccine. It did land last night here in the country at about 23 minutes past 11, and exactly at midnight the vaccines were offloaded. Now that the vaccine is here with us in the country, what is the way forward? That is the information that we want to just make sure you know and have the actual facts of the matter and not speculate about anything. And to help us with this conversation, the studio this morning we have with us Dr. Willis Ahwale, who is the chair of the Coronavirus Vaccine Task Force. Good morning, Dr.
Good morning.
Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
All right, maybe we could just start with the feel of how it was once the plane landed with this, cargo on board. What was the feeling when that particular plane landed this morning? Last night, rather.
For me, maybe more excited than any other Kenyan, because I know the huge logistical tasks and the issues we had to go through to ensure this happens. They have not been easy from the time that the task force was appointed by the Principal Secretary in December. And we were told that really ensure at the earliest opportunity, the vaccines reach in Kenya, we must make sure we save lives. We must vaccinate Kenyans. So there's a lot of areas of regulation, the issues of planning, the logistics, training of people. It has been massive. So for it to have happened, it was hurrah for the task force.
It was a step in the right direction in terms of fighting this, because we do remember the CS saying, this is now our ammunition.
Yes.
We are not using rubber bullets anymore. We will be running for you some of the pictures that was actually of what was happening on ground at the airport when this particular plane landed. But now there's so much disinformation and misinformation going around on both mainstream and social media in regards to the way forward when it comes to this vaccine. And we want to just demystify and get the proper information. Now, let's just start by addressing some of the concerns that I have been seeing, and especially on social media. And we could start with the fact that as a country, we settled on the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. Let's add, why was this the particular one that we got? Because you have experts saying, you could have allowed room for other kinds of vaccines to just see which will be most effective here in our country.
Yeah, let me start by actually saying we are starting the rollout using AstraZeneca vaccine, a vaccine that has approval by the World Health Organization for emergency use, authorization we call it, a vaccine that was actually also tested here in Kenya by Kemri Kilifi on the variant, on the coronavirus variant here in Kenya, and has been found to be effective. I want Kenyans to know that we have different variants of corona.
Yes.
The dominant variant here, which this vaccine was used as part of the clinical trials, it was found to be effective. The corona variant, the South African variant, in which a very small population was used, is a different variant. And it was used in healthy populations.
Yes.
So that study, we took note of it. It was a very small study, but that does not say or does not mean AstraZeneca vaccine is not. But let me say, the guiding principle. So my task makes the final decision as to which vaccine. But we have what we call the Kenya National Immunization Technical Advisory Group. This is the one that recommended the use of vaccines and advised that the vaccines must be registered by a stringent regulatory authority like WHO.
Yes.
It must also be registered by our Pharmacy and Poisons Board. So these two had to be met. Now, let me also say that within the COVAX mechanism, the requirement is also approval by WHO. Now, as at the time we made a decision to procure, we had 3 vaccines available. Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca.
Yes.
Moderna, the doses are just not there, so we could not get it through COVAX. Pfizer had limited doses, and as you know, Pfizer requires storage at -70 degrees. It has the logistical challenges.
As opposed to AstraZeneca.
Yeah, AstraZeneca. So AstraZeneca could easily fit. It is effective, it is safe, and it has been piloted here. But let me continue repeating.
Yes.
As more vaccines become available, we are going to ensure we are able to bring as many and people can have choices. But at the moment, the vaccines are not just there.
Yes.
Yet, this disease can kill you. Would you take caution by vaccination now, or we wait until you are in an ICU and we say, oh, I wish he got that vaccine?
All right. So this concern about it being not as effective is not something that holds as much water that could discourage us from getting and using this particular vaccine?
Absolutely not.
People should let go of that narrative.
It should let go. And let me also tell people, India has deployed hundreds of millions of these vaccines to big populations. You've not heard of people falling like flies from the skies on the ground in India, have you heard? No, so the issue of safety and effectiveness is something that is fully addressed.
All right. Now, we know that the vaccines are at the main government's depot in Kitengela. What is the plan in terms of distribution across the country for the benefit of our viewers? Because we did see the governors complain that they were not involved in the planning of how the vaccine is going to be distributed across the country, given that, you know, health is a devolved unit.
Yes, health is a devolved unit, but certain functions like immunization is a national function. But we are sensitive that even if it's a national function, we work closely with the county authorities. And let me say that we had meetings with the CECs, all the CECs, virtual meetings. We've had meetings with the county directors of health, and last Thursday, we briefed the chair of Council of Governors Health Committee, His Excellency Honorable Peter Nyang, and he went through the entire deployment plan. And let me say, you know, we are also at a COVID period, so people should not expect that we will be running all over the country talking to everybody. So virtual meetings are enough to engage. I'm also aware the Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Mutahi Kagwe, is making arrangements to brief the governors. And I must also say, a lot of these things happened because it is only about 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago that AstraZeneca was approved for emergency authorization. And it's only last Friday that we were told your doses are ready. If Kenya was not ready, we would have been pushed maybe up to May or June to get our doses.
Back of the line.
Yes. So Kenyans should be patient with us. We had to get the doses here and we organize ourselves to be orderly. And for Kenyans, I want to urge that there's something called discipline on the queue, queuing discipline. Don't jump the queue. In our DNA, we have, myself, I always want to be on the front of the queue. We have prioritized frontline healthcare workers. That's where we want to protect them. And we have our security forces. This is where we are starting.
All right, and I'd like to just speak up at that particular point in terms of the prioritization process that as a task force you have in place, because just looking at the headlines this morning, it is saying that politicians jump to the front of the line as COVID-19 jab lands. What was informing the order in which you prioritize the different parts of the population, also looking at other aspects that have been affected here in the country?
Yeah, first let me start by the stories I've read, and they are not factual, let me say.
Yes.
And if there's anybody on a queue, they are on a wrong queue. That queue is not where food is served. And it's not where the jab will be given. And I'll come to how we prioritize, but let me say, currently, we are working with the county teams to identify the vaccination. Today, if you go to Kitengela, we are repackaging so that vaccines are sent to the 9 regional stores across the country that serve a cluster of counties. So they'll go to Mombasa, there'll be those going to Embu, Garissa, Nyeri, Kisumu, Kakamega, Nakuru, Eldoret. And then counties can access them from there. Now, we have asked the counties to select one public health facility per county to start the rollout. So we will have 47 hospitals ready to start vaccinating by next Monday. Although counties near Nairobi can start vaccinating even tomorrow and over the weekend. But by Monday, the 8th, we should have 47 hospitals. The final list will be agreed. It will be signed off by the program, the National Vaccine Immunization Program, and Kenyans will know these are the facilities. So if the governor or politicians, call them, if the politicians are not queuing in those hospitals, they are not on a queue. Because that's the queue that the vaccination will take place.
So you can affirmatively say at this particular point, there's no politician who is jumping to the front of the line to get this vaccine?
At this point, there is none. At this point, and therefore that story is an entertainment.
Okay.
But as we go forward, it is possible, and that's why I'm talking of the discipline. And that's now why it is so important I explain the prioritization. We prioritized like this.
All right. I think before we get to that prioritization bit, we need to take a very quick break, but we'll be right back to just help you get the actual facts of the matter when it comes to the way forward, given that the vaccine is here. So do stay with us. We will be right back after this break.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Mimi naitwa mzee Sabasaba. Na nitalimaza lenyewe. Safishe roho yangu. Ponda mali at your own risk.
Wow.
Yaani kila siku kila nikikukanya wewe usikii waleta ukibadilisha tu. Mimi ni tajiri bwana.
Sasa uniambia ujeoe.
Huyu nani baba huyu? This is my house girl. Hebu nishusha hadhi. Subiri kuteseka baba. Wazungu wasema it's okay. Wazungu sema it's okay.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
It's him. Amaya's husband. He was the man who ran me over in Chiapas. That guy was there when we met. Then why did she lie to me? Why?
I don't know why you insist on saying that he was in Chiapas.
Because I saw him. Because he was your husband who ran me over and left me lying on the street when you and I were in Chiapas.
Unichukulie kwa mfano ndani ya matatu.
Yaani mtu mzima na miaka zake hizo miaka zote. Mtu ajui kujua kuandika note. Note tu peke yake. Kusoma kweli itasaidia.
Jana nini nakusumbua na mimi?
Nauliza ni bwana
Chudea. Insult me, okay?
Mama Angel.
Don't you dare.
Haya, kwani ni vita? Nini wewe? Yaani wataka kumpiga. Huwezi mpige mpige nini?
On the next episode.
Juhudi za Rais Uhuru Kenyatta za kulinda na kuimarisha maslahi ya Wakenya kwa kuangazia uhalifu wa kila aina ikiwemo ufisadi ni muhimu katika maendeleo ya taifa hili. Wiki hii kwenye Project 254.
We cannot be a country anymore where those who work hard are robbed of their profit by those who are too lazy to invest and produce.
Ofisi ya ODPP imekuwa ni mojawapo ya zile taasisi Kenya ambazo zinashughulika na masuala ya kisheria.
Rais ajue lolote afanyalo kupiga ufisadi kwa haki na ukweli, ana uungwaji wa mkono wa Kenya.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Amerudi wapi? Oh.
Ni vitu vyako, subiri.
Yale ya impeachment ya governor. Kabisa. Ndio hayo. Tayari tushaongea na MCAs. Shida iko wapi?
Bwana Simita. Ndio. Wewe utamwamini vipi huyu mtu kama atatutekelezea mambo yetu?
Hebu jamaza, nimekuja hapa tusuluhishe hili jambo. Mzee, kama unataka nyinyi wasikize, huyu asongee chochote hapa sasa hivi.
All right, welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. Glad you are still with us. We are on to this conversation about the COVID-19 vaccine, which did arrive some minutes to midnight last night. It did finally land here in Kenya, and soon after they were taken to the government main depot in Kitengela, awaiting distribution across the different counties. And as we have been told, by Monday, there will be the official nationwide rollout of a vaccine at the different hospitals that will have been identified by them in each county, to just make sure that there is a central point for these vaccines to be distributed in each and every county. But we are here today to understand the way forward. What next? What should we expect as a people in regards to the plans that the ministry has in line with the vaccination of the better part of the population, and more so looking at this first phase that we are in. In studio this morning, we have Dr. Willie Sakwale, the chair of the Coronavirus Vaccine Task Force, to help us better understand this conversation. Now, earlier on, before the break, you were just about to just help us understand the prioritization thought process that went into the different groups that you are choosing to start with in this vaccination rollout plan. Maybe you could pick up from that point.
Yes, we looked, our thought was that we must protect those that are most vulnerable. Our frontline health workers, and frontline here I mean the people who are dealing with patients directly.
Yes.
We have our healthcare workers, the nurses, the doctors, the clinic officers, the laboratory staff who have been working in ICUs, managing these patients, managing the most complicated cases. We will protect them first.
Yes.
We really need to do that. And then we have our security forces as well, who have ensured that there's law and order as part of measures to curb this. So these are the people we have prioritized in phase one. And again, the prioritization is informed by the availability of doses.
Yes.
Currently, globally, we do not have adequate vaccines for everyone. So we had to come up with a priority list, and that's why we adopted a phased approach. Now, among the other priority are people 18 years and above with comorbidities or underlying health conditions. Things like diabetes, hypertension, cancer, sickle cell disease. These are also been prioritized so that they get the vaccination.
Yes.
Then we have people in congregate settings and people living in slums, refugees. Those are another priority group. So we divided the doses to ensure we cover this, the limited doses that we have. I must, however, say that as we go down, there is likely to be increased availability of doses and different vaccines, and we are going to start bringing some of these priority groups in front of the queue, but I've said we must have queue discipline.
Yes.
Please don't jump the queue. We will be working with county government to show you who comes in front of the queue when doses are available.
No jumping the queue by virtue of holding any office?
No.
All right. So that goes out to clear that notion. It is one of the headlines on the dailies this morning that some politicians are jumping the line in regards to getting the vaccinations. Now, another thing that has gotten such wide criticism is in regards to the prices in which this particular vaccine has been acquired. Comparing to the global prices, it is said that, you know, as the major narrative is that third world countries and the poorer countries are getting this vaccine at a higher price as opposed to the first world countries. And consequently, people are having concerns as to the price at which they're going to be receiving here, and especially in Kenya, when they'll be getting the vaccines. Will those prices in which that, as a ministry, you acquire the vaccine affect the prices in which we, the common mwananchi, are going to be paying for this vaccine?
Let me start by first really stating that the vaccine will be free of charge, no cost at all in all public health institutions in Kenya.
Is that in this first phase of vaccination or throughout the phases?
Throughout the phases in all public health institutions.
All right.
In private institutions, phase 1, targeting healthcare workers, it is free.
Okay.
You do not pay anything. We are only discussing in later phases the role of the private sector and whether they could do a minimum administration agreed yet. But in phase 1, up to June of this year, no charge, whether in private or public. I really want to make that absolutely clear.
All right.
So there should be no. Now, the cost of vaccine, the commercial cost of these vaccines globally range from $32 to $38.
Yes.
That's about 4,000 shillings a dose. But under the COVAX mechanism, there is a subsidy. Money has been given by donors and philanthropists to bring the cost to range between, I think, $5 to $7 or around $7 on average. And this includes transportation costs. So a factory, ex-factory prices may be $5.25 like Serum Institute of India. But remember, you have to transport the vaccine to Kenya. You have to airlift. These are specialized. You have to use specialized coolage. The weight, yesterday I was at the airport and you try to, those things are heavy because they are packed with ice cubes that are compressed. They are very heavy. So you are paying for the weight to airlift them here. And that's how it comes to, on average, $7 to transport it here. Now, why is it cheaper in other countries? It's because they have factories there. So they don't have to airlift. That's why it will be cheaper.
Yes.
So I'm hoping in Kenya we start putting, we start investing so that in future we produce the vaccines here. They'll be cheaper and good for everyone.
All right. Now, looking at the rolling out of this whole vaccination process, we got information that there are about 400 medics that were trained when it comes to the administration of this vaccine. Can you confirm that that is the actual number?
To start with. So we started trainings yesterday, and what the people we are training are called the national and county TOTs. These are the people who are going to train the people within the counties. But we also called 2 people who will do the actual vaccination from the one facility I've told you that will start conducting the vaccination during the week of 8th. So those ones are here in Nairobi. They are being trained, and they are also going to train. And let me say we are adopting a method because we don't want, I know training involves a lot of people coming together.
Yeah.
We still have to keep the COVID rules. We are going to decentralize the trainings, but we are also going to use a lot of virtual training. People will have to go and follow this self-learning by healthcare workers through the various platforms and webinars.
Okay.
So there's going to be a lot of training, and after training is when we allow people to the next facilities. So the first facilities is government-owned facilities. But I know people are concerned when to private come. The counties themselves are the ones that are going to tell us which private facility should be given to support the government efforts. So they will identify those, they will let us know. Every week, every time we update the facilities, we will share the lists so that Kenyans know this is where the vaccination is taking place.
All right. And speaking of the prizes that are involved when it comes to getting the vaccine, once we get the proper information looking at the phase 2 and phase 3, there's a tweet here that says a scandal has just landed in Kenya. Guys, in the next 2 weeks, you will be buying it for 350 Kenya shillings at the back streets of Nairobi. What do you have to say in regards to this
Kenyans,
tweet?
don't go to the back streets. Many funny things happen there and not vaccination.
Yes.
Yes, the current vaccine and any vaccine of COVID has not been approved for market use. When we talk of emergency use authorization, it means it is only being bought by government and it will be used under the supervision of government. Anyone selling anything that is not a vaccine, it is something fake, don't have it as a jab into your body, please do not go to any back street, and don't be vaccinated at a site that the Ministry of Health has not told you this is a vaccination post. And we are going to put posters across the country. Actually, tomorrow and later today, as the vaccines go, we have posters, rollers that will be telling you this is the vaccination post. Yes.
So in terms of also, because this is a major concern when it comes to public awareness and the information that they need to know, is it going to be made available in all public hospitals in regards to the way forward and what you really need to know about this vaccine, even before we get to the nationwide rollout of phase 2 or phase 3 of the vaccination plan?
There will be a lot of communication advocacy. The reason I said, despite lack of sleep, I'm here because I want Kenyans to get that information.
Yes.
And for us, the counties are going to be the main driver in terms of creating demand and for wananchi to understand. So that's why we have a deployment plan, and we have also developed a communication plan. And we have developed key messages we are going to share with them as part of the training so that they use those messages there.
Yes. Okay.
The question as to we've been slow to have started communication. The reason also is the information. You know, confirmation of even the vaccine coming was last Friday.
Yes.
To be very frank. The approval for AstraZeneca by WHO was 3 weeks ago. So we have had a very limited time to go out there. We would not have started shouting ourselves hoarse without having got confirmation on some of these things.
All right. Now, I want us to address some of the major concerns that are really, coming out very strongly, and especially on social media from so many Kenyans. And number one is the lack of confidence in this particular vaccine. And one thing that they have mentioned is that at this point, it's cleared only to be used on adults. And now comes in the question of children who are considered to be super spreaders in all this. And consequently, so many people lack confidence in this particular vaccine. How would you address this issue?
This vaccine is effective. That I can assure Kenyans against the coronavirus variant of Kenya. It was evaluated here in Kenya and found to be effective. Now, the issue of why it's not used in pregnancy and in children is simple. And let me explain, we have what we call clinical trials, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
Yes.
And very briefly say that like clinical trial phase 1, the vaccine is tried in animal models. Then you go to phase 2, you try on other models that resemble the humans, the monkeys, the chimpanzee and baboons. And you are looking at any side effects that they may cause. So you evaluate that, and once you've finished that, you then go to phase 3, which is the human trials.
Yeah.
And in human trials, you also evaluate for safety. You want to see if there's any side effect. So once you finish phase 3, and you have shown that there's no danger either in animals or humans, then you can get emergency use authorization.
Yes.
This is what happened. Now, phase 4 is when you now administer it to a wider population, and now you just monitor some minor events that may occur. But the safety at that time is guaranteed. And therefore, in our plan, we are going to monitor that. So emergency use meant, because it is saving lives, it is protecting people from death, we can use it.
Yeah, and that also goes on to the aspect that also people are putting forth this narrative, the haste in which this vaccine, medics went to market with this vaccine, arguing that when it comes to the development of vaccines, it ranges anywhere between 10 and 29 years for it to be effective and ready. In just efforts to reinstate confidence in the people and understanding the fact that it is under the emergency use, please speak to our viewers this morning to just reinstate their confidence in regards to the haste in which this vaccine was developed.
First, let me say the haste in terms of safety. There was no haste. They have all completed phase 3 trials. Phase 2, phase 3 looks at safety, and therefore those ones were not rushed.
Yes.
What we are in is phase 4, which requires, in the past, actually you start using it and you monitor over maybe 7 years as you pick the minor events. However, the vaccines that we are using now are developed on a platform similar to other vaccines used, and that have been shown not to have had any effect. So they are not absolutely new. The platform, the base, is similar to the same base that is used in some of the vaccines like flu and Ebola in particular.
Yes.
So it is platforms that have been tested. So the issue of rushing is a misinformation. It's not a word. But what people should get confidence is that as part of the deployment, any side effect that is directly related to the vaccine will be reported, investigated with the Pharmacy and Poisons Board.
Yes, and that is also another concern that so many people have, that there could be a probability of mortality, and thus the hesitancy towards, you know, even being receptive to this vaccine. And this is also coming from, you know, what we are seeing from different countries across the world. We are seeing people who are having some severe reactions to this vaccine, and maybe they hadn't even contracted the virus to start with. So in terms of the risks as per the health assessment that has been done here in our country, and also sampling from other countries, concerns about mortality. What can you say about that?
Mortality. India, and I don't have the figures, it started deploying about 2 weeks, and no, 6 weeks ago. And they're in hundreds of millions. Of this similar vaccine, I said you have not had people dropping on the ground like flies.
Yes.
So that's fine. But let me also address the issue you are saying. There may be a few people who will get reactions. Those will be investigated. But also let me say, there will be somebody who was going to die whether they got the vaccine or not. So we talk about investigating a side event that is linked to the vaccine. You may be hypertensive and it was to your day. You got the vaccine today and you die tomorrow. We have an independent safety monitoring board that is going to be investigating that. That has been appointed as part of our rollout plan.
Yes.
And then now let me say the issue of social media. I see a lot of interesting stories on social media. You know, social media, you read it, you go there for entertainment, you also go there for learning. I see people speaking very good English and trying to convince people, but full of misinformation. So what our task force has recommended is that the health professionals will come out with the right information, and we are going to engage Kenyans. Give them, empower them to make the decision.
Now, looking at efforts that are being made at the counties in terms of county preparedness, a part of the population are sharing their concerns with the fact that the church has been very quiet about this whole vaccine process. What can you say about this in terms of involving the different sectors of the population who, you know, in one way or the other shape an opinion of a huge percentage of the population?
I must say at national level, we've started engaging the faith-based organization. I particularly have had a sitting with them. I presented, I'm told the interfaith is, we are also going to brief them. And we are going to engage. In fact, the steering committee that I report, mine is a task force, I report to a steering committee.
Yes.
The steering committee has representation of the faith-based organization, Christians and Muslims. And at county level, we have also said that that must be maintained. And as part of our media engagement, we have also indicated that we want the media briefings not to be just MOH. We want the private sector to be there. We want the religious, let them update. But encouraging, we even saw the Pope take the vaccine.
So that should be the first step towards, you know, addressing this issue about the church being quiet.
Yes.
All right. Now, as we draw the conversation to a close, other concerns coming out is the fact that the vaccine is now here. You might find a huge part of the population relaxing when it comes to these health guidelines and protocols that have been always insisted on by the ministry. In as much as the vaccine is here, why is it important to just make sure that we're not dropping these guidelines and protocols?
It's not over until it is over. There's such a saying. We are in a war, and the Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe put it very clearly. We have just brought a new arsenal. This arsenal will ensure that deaths don't occur. But as I've said here, the transmission will still be there. So we must not drop our guard. Let us continue masking consistently. Let us continue keeping social distancing. Let's continue maintaining the highest level of hygiene. Let's continue cleaning our hands.
Yes.
That we must do. When this war is over, there will be a whistle and we'll be told, now you can. We are not yet there. It is not over until it is over.
All right. Now, looking at the immunity question now comes in. Once, and especially now that we're in the first phase, how many times will there need to be administration of this vaccine in order to ensure immunity against this particular virus? What is the lifespan?
Now, there are still some unknowns about the vaccine. First, if you get a natural infection, it has been shown that you will still be reinfected, and it could be milder or severe. So that is, now once you've been infected, in a few cases, people are also getting a reinfection. Now, but I guess what we are talking about is the herd immunity, where you need to protect a huge population of people.
Yeah.
When you talk about a herd immunity, is like, what the recommendation is 60 to 70% of population to be vaccinated. Now, once you vaccinate, then the transmission within community reduces. But herd immunity is not the same as individual. You could be the one affected. The population could be, but that one infection could cause your death. So you as an individual must keep guard. Don't just hope on the overall community protection. And to me, that is a very important point we need. And however, you see the coronavirus is so dynamic. For us, we are targeting 30% population first, and hopefully go to 40. The impact of corona in our setup is not as much as in Europe and America, where 70 is. So we are hoping that by 30–40% we'll be really reducing transmission within communities.
So as it stands in this first phase of the vaccination process, whoever will be vaccinated, they will be getting at least how many doses?
Two doses, 8 weeks apart.
8 weeks apart.
Yes, and the second one is just a booster. So the first one will throw your immunity, and the second one will remind your body, are you still ready? And you throw a stronger immunity.
All right. Now, as we close this conversation, maybe for those who are still having concerns and would just like to get the information, what are the proper channels that you would recommend that they follow to get the proper information as per the health experts and information that has been verified?
We are going to have channels at county level in particular.
Okay.
The county teams are going to be empowered to form teams. We have actually asked them to even appoint champions for the vaccination. People who can talk to local communities within the county level. At the national level, I'm here, I want to champion for it, and other champions will also be there. And then I want to say we are going to engage radio, media, political leaders, everybody. Let us not make a fuss out of this thing. Please, this misinformation, but we are in a war. Spreading rumors and misinformation could just be what causes the death and not the disease.
Yeah. Now, there's a tweet here by Mercy who's asking, what is the priority for people who want to travel abroad, as most countries have made the COVID vaccine certificate a mandatory requirement?
Let me say that is a global discussion that I am not very private to. I know some countries are insisting on a PCR test, others... I've heard that this certificate may become a requirement, but you see that's a discussion that has to be within WHO and other global leaders. But at this point, when there's inequity, countries, low and middle-income countries do not have access to the vaccine, that definitely is unfair, and I'm sure political leaders would have to fight such.
All right. Well, due to the constraint of time, we have to put a cap on this discussion at that particular point. Remember, this has been all about knowing the way forward now that the vaccines are here in the country. They did land at about 23 minutes past 11 p.m. last night, and by midnight they were offloaded and on the way to the government's main depot in Kitengela, where they now await the nationwide distribution, which by Monday is expected that each county across the country will be having their doses and officially start the rolling off of the rolling out rather of the first phase of the vaccination here in our country. So get the proper information. Remember, don't always rely on all these random pieces of disinformation and misinformation that is in both on mainstream and social media. Get your facts right. Understand what is the way forward. That is that in regards to this conversation. We have been speaking with Dr. Willis Akwale, who is the chair of the Coronavirus Vaccine Task Force team. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for hosting me.
Karibu sana.
See you soon.
That brings us to a close of this discussion, so do stay with us. We will be back tomorrow, for another fantastic edition of Good Morning Kenya. On behalf of the crew, have a lovely day. God bless. See you tomorrow. I'm Jane Wamboi.
My name is Christian Kolalwaka. I'm from Makini School, and today I was swimming under 12 and 13 years old competitive. Most of the people who I was swimming with they were competitive. All of them were good. I had a fairly good competition today, and I was number one in most of the events that I did. I started swimming in baby class. It was my dad at Moi Educational Center. He has taught many people, and most of them are in international swimming. He tells me that every time that I come to the pool, every time that I'm swimming, it's a gift, it's a talent that I was given by God. My targets are to get into international levels. Normally here I do studies first, then swimming later. They should just work hard and try as much as they can.
Tripathy, and I'm 13, and I go to ISK, and I think today's performance was good. It was kind of tough. It was competitive because people in my heat, one of them was like a level 3 swimmer, and it was kind of competitive, yeah. My mom introduced me to swimming because my brother kind of almost drowned, and so she didn't want me to drown, so we learned swimming when I was 8. Yeah. coaches, Coach Isaac and Coach Bernard. And yeah.
And that is none other than Rachel Neyman and Dumo Bubbles. And then lane number 3, Anita Wanjiru.
After swim training, I just do studying because, like most kids, when they don't have time because they do other things. But if you just do swimming and then you just study, then you can balance it well.
Dungo Bubbles 3, Anita Wanjiru, Kes. Lane number 4, Savannah Musengi Bubbles. 5, Sheila Kimeto, Kes. 6, Michelle Masharia, Otis. 7 is Abby Karaja Bubbles. Let's see what is going to happen there. This is la 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 la.
The stage is set for the next football star from Africa to emerge at the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations. Watch all the games live on KBC Channel 1 as 12 countries battle out for the ultimate prize of becoming champions of Africa. Raw talent, raw skills, ultimate technique. From Africa's finest and capped talent, witness footballing dreams come alive at the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations from 14th of February to 6th of March 2021. Live from Mauritania and exclusively on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Unichukulie kwa mfano ndani ya matatu.
Yaani mtu mzima na miaka zake hizo miaka zote. Mtu ajui kujua kuandika note. Note tu peke yake. Kusoma kweli itasaidia.
Nini nakusumbua na nini?
Nauliza. Ni bwana.
There. Insult me, okay?
Mama Angel.
Don't you dare.
Aya, kwani umepita?